Tell me what we're up to here today.
Yeah, so we're out here on Grand Lake. We're in Duck Creek, our first location. We're going to stock 93,000 tiger bass fingerlings today. So F1, 50-50 cross between Florida strain bass, largemouth bass, and northern strain largemouth bass. Our point is we want to boost trophy potential, angler success, and all those things in Grand Lake. We've tried since the very early 80s to change genetics a little bit with those Florida genetics in Grand Lake, and it's just too far north. It just has not worked. It never has worked. We've tried a lot of different things. We've had a novel approach going, stocking some larger year-old Florida bass. We don't know how that's working yet, and now we got the opportunity with generous donations. Kevin Van Dam Foundation started this with $5,000, followed by a match by the Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Foundation with another $5,000. Then Flying Squirrels Farms came in with $10,000. Southtone Construction out of Jinx, Oklahoma came in with $5,000. The Swank Family Foundation had another $5,000. Whiskey Point on Grand Lake with another $5,000. Then finally we were able to get it done with Grove Convention and Tourism Bureau putting in another $5,000. So it got us to $40,000, which is what we needed to stock 2 per acre of these tiger bass. So 93,000 little tiger bass are going to go into Grand Lake today.
And tell me about the bass themselves. You got fingerlings, and how are they going to survive, and what are they going to do?
Yeah, so they're fingerlings, but they've got a bit of a leg up. They've got a couple legs up right now. If you look behind us here, we've got a lot of vegetation in the water. This isn't, I guess it's kind of typical of the last 4 or 5 years in Grand Lake in June, but not really typical. Usually you'd see a lot of rock, and there's not a lot of flooded habitat. This is perfect for fingerlings. Another thing that's going great for these fingerlings is our fish were spawned, peak of the spawn, somewhere around, the first week of May. Maybe May 5th, maybe May 9th, somewhere in there. These fish were spawned later than normal because everybody's behind, but still they came from Alabama. So these fish are going to be 2 inches long. So we're stocking them when fingerlings are present. So they've got that safety in numbers thing, but they're also a little bit advanced. They're like fingerlings that got spawned here earlier than everybody else. So they've got a leg up. There's 2 per acre. That doesn't sound like much because it's not. But at the end of the day, we don't need 93,000 to survive and make it all the way. We need enough, though, that makes a difference in angler creels at some point.
The DNA thing.
Yeah, so the DNA, that's kind of a cool thing. So over the years, we're going to follow this. We really want to do this more than, we don't want this to be a 1-year thing. We want this to be a kind of a long-term project. I'm shooting for 10 years, and basically we're just going to have to find that funding to be able to extend this. But the plan is to, one, look at these things every year, just like we do our largemouth bass population now, but we'll probably pull fin clips to look at genetics on a yearly basis, and we can do some really cool stuff with that. There's things that we don't know about these fish. What we do know about tiger bass in a 1-to-1, a 50-50 cross is that you get both parent genetics. So you're going to get the thermal tolerance of a northern strain largemouth bass and the growth potential of a Florida bass. The thing that we don't know is the growth potential enough to outweigh the fact that those genetics aren't supposed to be in this climate. So that's a weird question. Just because they can get huge doesn't mean they will when you put them in a climate that those genetics weren't supposed to be in. So this is all interesting stuff. We're going to look at growth rates over time. That's why we've got 3 locations only we're putting them. It's going to be the back of Duck Creek. We're going to move up to around Horse Creek, and we're going to go to Honey Creek. All good habitat areas for these fish, but also because these small fish like this don't move a lot in their first year. So we should be able to come back to these sites instead of just dropping 93,000 and 46,000 acres, come back to these sites and find these fish, hopefully fin clips from some of these fish when we're sampling in years to come. And that'll give us growth rates and comparisons to northern strain largemouth bass and possibly Florida strain largemouth bass from some of the grow outs that we've put in, and possibly then F1s produced from the Florida strain bass that we've been putting in the last 3 years, the grow out fish. So really cool project, really gonna see some good stuff. At the end of the day, what we want from these genetics is growth rate. Any of that, does it matter? No. Our point is trophy potential. We wanna push Grand Lake to a place where the big bass in a tournament is not 683, but it's 1024 or 1115, something like that. That's just unheard of now when you get this far north. That would push this lake to an all new level if you had that trophy potential. And that's really what we're trying to do.